Everyone knew Elizabeth Montgomery as the sweet witch who twitched her nose. But her family knew different truths. Her secret affair with Elvis Presley, the eerie connection to Lizzie Borden she discovered too late, the real reason she fought with her famous father until he died. They turned down millions in book deals. Then suddenly, they started talking. What made them change their minds? The answer involves a deathbed confession that nobody saw coming. Elizabeth Montgomery was born on April 15, 1933, in Los Angeles. Her arrival was marked by an unspoken sadness. 2 years before she was born, her parents, Robert Montgomery and Elizabeth Allen, had lost their first daughter, Martha Bryan, who died as a baby in 1931. That loss stayed with the family forever. Elizabeth was often seen as a replacement child. Her parents never spoke of it directly, but they carried their grief into her childhood. This created a strange weight. They hoped she would live up to the sister they had lost. Her father was a famous actor and director. Her mother was a Broadway actress. Together, they pushed her to be perfect, making her feel as if she had to earn their love and attention. It shaped the way she thought about herself and left her always chasing approval. Her father, Robert Montgomery, was famous, driven, and fiercely protective. Even so, Elizabeth loved acting. That scared him, so he tried to control her future. He sent her to strict schools like Westlake School for Girls in Los Angeles. Even when she showed talent, he was never satisfied. When she appeared on his television series Robert Montgomery Presents, he never gave compliments. Instead, he gave long lists of what she did wrong. Even in her personal life, he pulled the strings, deciding who was good enough to be around her. Elizabeth felt trapped by his control, but that only made her more determined to make her own way. By 1951, after graduating from Spence, Elizabeth moved to New York City. She secretly enrolled at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. This was her first big rebellion. The school was famous for teaching people like Grace Kelly and Robert Redford. Going there was Elizabeth telling her father she would choose her own path. Within a year, she had earned her first role on television. It was the beginning of a career built on her own talent. That need to please her father ran deep. Even when Elizabeth was grown up, it followed her. Her choices in men reflected that. In 1954, she married Frederick Kaman, a wealthy businessman who was much older. Her next serious partner was Gig Young, an actor more than 20 years her senior. The relationships never lasted. They often ended badly. Elizabeth felt as if she was repeating the same emotional cycle over and over. Years after her death, people discovered a strange link in her family. Genealogists found out she was sixth cousins, once removed, with Lizzie Borden. Lizzie was the woman accused of murdering her parents with an axe in 1892. Elizabeth had no idea. Yet in 1975, she played Lizzie Borden in a television movie. The Legend of Lizzie Borden aired on February 10, 1975. That was not the only tense, memorable performance of her career. Elizabeth's first television role was on her father's series, Robert Montgomery Presents. The episode was called Top Secret, and it aired in 1951. She was just 18 years old. In the script, she played her father's daughter, and he forgot his own lines. Instead of laughing it off, he sent her detailed notes about her mistakes after the show ended. But when she told him, he took it personally. "What's the matter?" he asked. "Are you ashamed of me?" That guilt stayed with her. By 1953, she was finally proving herself. Her Broadway debut in Late Love earned her a Theatre World Award as Most Promising Newcomer. That gave her the confidence she had been craving. She worked constantly. In the 1950s and early 1960s, she appeared in more than 250 live television programs. Acting on live TV was demanding. Memorizing lines and performing without retakes left most actors drained. But Elizabeth thrived. "I guess you could say I'm a TV baby," she liked to say. That was where she learned to hold her own. One of the most shocking was her secret affair with Elvis Presley. According to biographer Herbie Pilato, They met in the early 1960s on the set of Kid Galahad in 1962. Sparks flew between Montgomery and Presley, and they weren't shy about flirting. Gig Young wasn't pleased. Presley even called him in one hole, was that Elvis was close to Montgomery's age. She was born in 1933, and Elvis in 1935. Unlike the much older men she usually fell for, Elvis was an exception. Many noticed her magnetic charm. Wherever she went, men were captivated by her. Even though there was so much gossip, neither Montgomery nor Elvis ever confirmed the affair. The secret stayed wrapped up in mystery forever. Her love life was never boring. On the set of Who's Been Sleeping in My Bed in 1963, she became involved with Dean Martin. Martin was a famous singer and actor, and also a legendary ladies' man. Even so, their chemistry was impossible to hide, but they kept the affair secret, despite Martin's reputation, and the press always watching. Going even further back, she had an affair with Gary Cooper during the making of the court-martial of Billy Mitchell in 1955. Cooper was 25 years older than Montgomery, fitting the pattern of her choosing much older men. A stagehand eventually caught them alone in Cooper's dressing room. Rumors spread fast. Both affairs stayed mostly private, though they showed her rebellious streak and her skill at keeping secrets. Montgomery's choice to take the part changed television forever. When Bewitched premiered on September 17, 1964, it was a sensation. ABC had never seen such ratings. The show reached #1 in the top 50 urban markets around the world. Viewers loved its mix of comedy, magic, and everyday family life. Elizabeth Montgomery was the heart of it all. Warm, witty, and modern, she brought Samantha to life like nobody else could. Clever writing and special effects made the show even more special. It redefined what a sitcom could be and gave ABC a huge boost. And then there was the nose twitch. That famous twitch was never part of the script. Montgomery thought it up herself. Every time Samantha cast a spell, she'd twitch her nose. It was a small touch, but it became iconic. Kids mimicked it. Other shows and ads copied it. A tiny creative choice became a symbol of television history. In 1992, Montgomery told The Advocate that Bewitched had a deeper meaning. Samantha was a magical being forced to hide who she was. That was something a lot of people, especially in the LGBTQ+ community, could relate to. Elizabeth revealed that this was deliberate. The show wasn't just about fun spells, it was about repression and the desire to be accepted. Many viewers felt seen because of that. Even decades later, people look back on the show as more than entertainment. It had heart and hidden power. But making Bewitched was not easy. ABC ordered nearly 40 episodes every year. That was double what most shows did. Montgomery worked long hours. The pressure wore her down. She often had no time to rest. This huge workload became one of the reasons the show eventually ended. By 1972, she was already thinking about darker roles. She took on TV movies like A Case of Rape and The Legend of Lizzie Borden. A Case of Rape aired in 1974 and was one of the most daring TV movies of its time. The story followed Ellen Harrod, a woman raped twice by the same man and then forced to fight a cruel legal system. NBC worried the second rape scene was too much for television. Montgomery refused to cut it. If they did, she would quit. When the movie finally aired on February 20, 1974, it had a viewer advisory. Even so, it became NBC's most-watched TV movie ever. The ratings were huge, a 33.1 Nielsen score and 49% of all viewers. Montgomery was nominated for an Emmy. The movie changed the way people thought about sexual assault on TV. In 1975, she played Lizzie Borden in The Legend of Lizzie Borden. The role earned her another Emmy nomination, but the most eerie part came later. Elizabeth Montgomery and William Asher weren't just husband and wife, they were creative partners too. They got married in 1963, just before Bewitched began. From the start, They thought they could grow their careers together. But what looked perfect on screen was often tense behind the scenes. Asher was already a successful director with hits like I Love Lucy, so he had real power on set. That made it hard for Montgomery. Arguments at home followed them to work. Crew members noticed that when they fought, the mood shifted. What was supposed to be a fun set became stressful. On top of this, there were rumors about Asher being unfaithful. Some even said he had several affairs during their 9-year marriage. That made things worse for Montgomery. People whispered that she began looking for her own sense of affection outside the marriage. Balancing the show and their personal problems took its toll. And then came Richard Michaels. By the early 1970s, Montgomery's marriage was already crumbling. When Michaels joined as a guest director, he and Montgomery grew close. Everyone on set could see what was happening. In a tight-knit world like Bewitched, there were no secrets. That affair ended up breaking 2 marriages. Montgomery and Michaels were serious about each other. Within a year, both couples had divorced. While filming her final project, she felt exhausted all the time. She had lost weight and thought maybe it was just stress or the flu. But after she finished filming at the end of March, she felt much worse. Finally, she went to a doctor, and the news was heartbreaking. Elizabeth had stage 4 colon cancer. It had already spread to her liver. What was even more shocking was that she had been feeling sick for only 6 weeks before doctors discovered it. Colon cancer can often be treated if it's caught early, but hers was too far gone. Less than 8 weeks after her diagnosis, on May 18, 1995, Elizabeth was gone. Her family and friends were left in shock at how quickly everything had happened. Her longtime partner, Robert Foxworth, later admitted that she had ignored her health for too long. Even when he told her she looked sick after filming her last movie, she brushed it off. Robert called it a kind of denial. Elizabeth didn't want to face the seriousness of her illness, and by the time she finally went to see a doctor, there was very little that could be done. Back then, colon cancer screenings were recommended starting at age 50. If she had followed that guideline and had regular checkups, she might have had a better chance. Robert believed that her delay in seeing a doctor cost her life. Despite her declining health, she gave one last powerful performance. Her final movie, Deadline for Murder, From the Files of Edna Buchanan, aired in 1995 and was one of the most watched TV movies of that year. Nobody watching knew she was secretly sick. Her co-stars and crew noticed she looked thinner and tired, and you can even see her looking unwell in some scenes. Still, she gave it her all. What's heartbreaking is that just 6 weeks after filming wrapped, Elizabeth died. It was as if she was determined to finish the job before her illness took over. Elizabeth continued to receive visitors at home, and most people thought she was just a little under the weather. But her family knew the truth. When she passed away, they followed her wishes. There was no public funeral. Her cremation was private. This was her way of protecting her loved ones and her image. She had spent her career in the spotlight, and she didn't want her last days to be part of a public story. The most heartbreaking part was Elizabeth's last request. On the morning of May 18, 1995, she knew the end was near. Her children were waiting in the next room, but she didn't want them to see her die. She wanted them to remember her the way she had always been, strong, warm, and full of life. Robert stayed by her side as she slipped away at 8:22 a.m. That was 8 weeks after doctors had given her the devastating news. She was only 62 years old. Her family kept everything quiet. They had her body cremated, and her ashes stayed with them. Even in her final moments, Elizabeth thought of everyone but herself. For nearly 30 years after Elizabeth Montgomery passed away, her 3 children stayed quiet about her personal life. Even after the doctors told her there was no more they could do, Elizabeth kept her spirit. Her children remember her joking about putting piña coladas into her IV while watching a New York Knicks game on TV. This was in her final days, when most people would have been too weak or too sad to smile. But Elizabeth kept making them laugh. That playful joke showed who she really was, someone who could face death without fear, someone who never let sickness steal her light. Her fans have never forgotten her either.